Welcome back, friends, and it is time for another edition of In the Making with the Soap Witch. So this time I am making an aloe vera bar soap scented with Luxurious Lavender Vanilla. So here I'm just pouring in my aloe vera juice. Remember, I used to make them with water, now it's aloe vera. Here is sodium lactate, which is just basically liquid salt, and this is sugar. They both help to keep the soap fluid, increase lather, and make a harder bar. Yay! Okay, so I just like to stir those in just to make sure it's all fully dissolved before I go ahead and add my lye, which is up next. So as you see, I'm putting everything on the scale to weigh it out because that's the most accurate way when you're putting together your ingredients or measuring out your ingredients on a scale, a reliable scale, and in grams, because it's the most effective and efficient, and we like that around here. So now that I've gotten these things measured out, I like to do my little OCD thing and get things adjusted just right. And then I start stirring up my liquid and pouring in my lye. You always pour the lye in the liquid, never ever the other way around. So I get to stirring because I really like to stir. That was my favorite part of cooking when I was a child, swirl. Anyway, so I stir it till it's a little less milky, because since it's not water, it's not going to go all the way back clear. So I usually add the lye mixture and the oils somewhere in the vicinity of 200 degrees. I do it as low as 180, but I prefer 200. So I get that all poured in there, and then I dunk my stick blender in there and get to going. It's on high, and I stick blend and I stick blend. I really want a nice trace, which is like a viscous, I think that's the right description, close to pudding, kind of a loose pudding maybe, consistency. This here is what I'm going for. It's looking pretty good, and you can see how it kind of moves when I take the stick blender out. That's what I'm looking for. Less fluid, a little thicker. All right, so kind of scrape my stick blender off a bit, waste not, want not, and then you probably can't see it that well, but it is starting to volcano, and I can't let it volcano too high when I have this much in this pot. I've stated before, it really should be in a bigger pot, but maybe one day. Right now, it's just going to continue on with me being defiant and risque. All right, so I just stir that down, and when I get it stirred down enough, I go ahead and put the lid back on. But it usually, it takes me a little minute. I did mention that I just enjoy stirring in general because I'm like a small child, and so yeah, that's safely, I think, where I wanted to be. So I went in again. You just kind of see me skip forward. I let it sit for a while and then went in with more stirring. There's lots and lots of stirring in the making of soap, at least on my end when I'm making soap using this method, which is countertop hot sauce. Really? We're not eating? Okay, mouth. Countertop hot process or fluid hot process. So here you just see me measuring in a colorant. This one is a deep blue soap, which didn't you just make a soap with blue in it? I did, but that is a much deeper, darker blue, and I just wanted to see how it looked, because I had never really used it in a soap where I got to showcase that wonderful deep blue. It's my favorite color, right? Just in case you were wondering what to get me for Christmas. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, as I was measuring out my colorants, to me it looked like the soap needed another stir, and so that's what I did. So I just went in and stirred it all up together as it was cooking, and it's kind of looking like applesauce here. They call it the applesauce phase, and so not done, but it's on the way. I really like how this soap cooks itself. This method, there's no heat element under there, but it keeps on cooking. So anywho, I went in and stirred in my white and just get that fully incorporated. I usually put the colorants into oil that I've reserved from the actual recipe, and I usually choose olive oil since there's so much in it. So now that those are incorporated and stirred up and all that good stuff, I'm going in with another stir, because again, lots of stirring to the completion of this soap. So it's still looking fairly applesaucy here, so not done, but it's on the way. And here we're getting on to the finished soap. It was looking a little mashed potatoey. That's the next phase. And then the very end is what we call Vaseline phase. It's got a sort of translucent, kind of sort of shiny look to it. And that's how we know that it's done, guys. So you saw all the phases. We've stirred that to completion. By we, I mean me. But you watched, so I guess you kind of helped, moral support. Thank you. So here I'm going to measure out my full fat Greek yogurt. You don't need it to be full fat or Greek. You do want it plain though. You don't want flavored yogurt. Just don't. It sounds like a bad idea to me anyway. So, and I'm usually a master of bad ideas, but even I have my limits. Okay, moving right along. So I dump all that in there, and then I just take my whisk and stir it all up. I want the yogurt to be fully incorporated. The yogurt is nice, of course, just because it has nice properties, but it's also just to help make the soap more fluid. So go ahead and put that lid on there, and while I put the lid on, I measured out my fragrance, and now I'm going to pour the fragrance in there. That's actually the reason that I make this method of soap to begin with, is because I feel like the fragrance just stays so much better. The fragrance is actually absolutely delicious and delectable. It is a mixture of vanilla butter, lavender, and a bit of tobacco caramel. Oh my God, smells so good. I'm just saying, toot my own horn. There I go again. So here I like to separate my soap so that I can add the colorants. So I split this one. It's not quite in half. There's going to be more of one color than the other, but I write down on my sheet how much colorant I'm going to add to what amount of soap, and that's how I decide how much to add to each really large container. I mean, that one's basically a pail. Anyway, so because it's a fluid hot process and not that paste-like consistency, I can stir the color in there pretty well, but since it's not cold process, I still have to be a little aggressive with the stir, because you still want that color to be fully incorporated in there. And so, not overly aggressive. You don't want it splashing out your container, but you want to make sure that all of the soap is fully colored. You don't want any uncolored bits of soap, because it just looks weird and unattractive, and it bothers my OCD. So here I am pouring the soap into the mold, and this is part of what helps you get your design in swirls, kind of the way that you pour your soap in there. I like to slam it down in between each color, just to make sure all of the soap is settled fully into the mold, and I don't have a bunch of air pockets or weirdness happening. I also really like to pour the soap in contrasting colors next to each other. So you're often going to see me pour like a light, dark, or very opposite colors next to each other, just because I feel like they show up better after you give it all, pour it all in there, layer it all in, and swirl it. That's just, my opinion. So now that I've gotten all of the soap poured, I'm going in with my actual hanger instead of a hanger tool like everybody else was since. And I just make sure I slide it down and stick it all the way to the bottom. And then I just sort of make figure eights. I don't want to go too many times, because then I feel like the soap starts to look a little muddled or just chaotic, which chaos has its purpose and time, but not in my soap. So when I got through all the swirling there, now I have decided that I like sprinkling the fairy dust on top of the soap before I swirl the tops, which was an accident the first time, and now I've just gone with it. Sometimes accidents make magic, y'all. I'm just saying, write that down. Anyway, so I'm just gonna go ahead and swirl the tops. I kind of feel like the glitter stays a little better in the soap, embeds itself a little better in the soap when I do it this way. Just could be in my head, but I'm going with it. So anyway, all the tops are swirled. Everything is done. It's so pretty. I put it in the freezer for like 5 hours. So I skipped all that, and you didn't see me take it out the molds, but it's cooled off, or warmed up actually enough for me to cut it. And so here are the cuts. So in between each cut, I take a napkin and wipe the wire of the cutter off, so I don't have residue sliding through each soap and like making it look ugly. Nobody wants that. I really love how each soap just looks very different. I'm a huge fan of that, just because I think it makes it wonderfully unique, even though it's the same batch of soap and I make them literally the same way every time. It's all like you're just unique little bubbly paradise. Okay, so let me just stop being poetic and foolish. Here are the little shards that I had left over after I demolded the soap and did the cut. And so I just like to, I've been reserving them. It won't be on every video, but several of these videos. And I like to show this, the lather, because, let me get my mouth together. I like to show the lather this way because soap, as it cures, gets better, and the lather gets better. And this is less than 24 hours after the soap was made, and it's already got an incredible lather. So this me again toot my own horn, but I really am liking the way these turned out. And so yeah, it's wonderful and magical. I really appreciate you hanging out. This is pretty much all I've got for this one. So if you like what you saw, please consider liking and subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. All right, bye. I'll see you later.